one, strong and free.
Praise be to
Praise
God.
be, praise be, praise be.
Praise our great nation.
Zambia, 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 free men we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, all one, strong and free.
Do a prayer. Actually, give us a prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we want to thank you for this day. We thank you for counting us worthy to be in your presence and to serve you. Oh God, we just ask you to be with us as we begin this meeting. May it be for your glory and for the glory of this nation. We ask, Almighty Father, that anything, oh God, that will try to disrupt this meeting, oh God, that we come against it, we speak against it in Jesus' name. We ask for wisdom for the speakers today, oh God. May they be an inspiration to the people and to the nation. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Mr. President, you can take a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Media Director. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the press, our senior leaders that are here, led by our Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Nixon Chilangwa. Honorable Nixon Chilangwa, a special welcome. You are aware that he was in prison for over 128 days. He's back at work, he's back in Parliament, and we are glad that he's part of today's press conference. Since our last meeting, the acting president had delivered a pre-budget statement. Today, he had promised that he would do a post-budget analysis and shed light on national issues. The purpose of today's press briefing is essentially to speak to the issues of the budget now that it was presented and the perspective of the party on the matter. And we will use the opportunity for the president to make other major announcements. Let me start with just a formal introduction from the other side. My dear brother, MCC, introduce yourself.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
Secretary General, the media. My full names are Elias Daka, Member of Parliament from Sanzara constituency, and I'm a member of Central Committee. I'm the Deputy Vice Chairperson, Mines. Thank you very much.
You still can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Acting President. Thank you, Chairman for media, colleagues, members of Central Committee, members of Parliament, all of your colleagues who are here, the media. I am Nixon Chilangwa. Good to see you. And good to be back.
Good to see you, they say. Thank you. The mode of the press conference will be that the president will deliver his speech, then we'll invite questions from you members of the press. This is a press conference. It is your conference. We'll have other leaders that are here, but essentially it's about you and our acting president interacting with the country through you as the media. May I now take the opportunity to invite the president to deliver his speech.
There is one gentleman at the high table who also should introduce himself.
Oh, my dear brother.
And
Sorry,
another one is just
I've seen other
coming.
leaders. I've seen Celestine. Quickly,
Yes,
quickly.
please introduce
Thank you so
yourselves.
much, Honorable Piri from Baker constituency. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm Celestine Mkante from Makero constituency.
Bashkul, he said the media don't know you. We call you a prophet. Now I stay introduce him. Nimwebani.
Why Neshiguru Michael? Why should go up Zambia? Because the moment and you'll be the West president. If not, Edgar Chagwaruba, let's take a few winner child. Please, the Kenya will fly each level. Is what I said.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. President, you have the honor to address the nation through our members of the press that are here.
I've asked before whether you want me to stand or sit, and you have said your cameras are set for me to sit.
Yes, especially the phones. Your voice will not be very loud if you stand.
The Deputy Secretary General, the Chairman for Information, Deputy Chairman for Mines, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Lusaka Province Committee, let me simply say my fellow party members and members of the press. To start with, allow me, on behalf of the leadership and membership of the Patriotic Front Party, and indeed on my own behalf, to pay our heartfelt condolences on the passing of the servant of God, founder and presiding Archbishop of the Bible Gospel Church in Africa, also known as Bigoka, Dr. Peter Ndlovu, who passed away at Mainasoko Medical Center on Friday, 13th October 2023. Bishop Ndlovu's immense contribution to the governance and the spiritual well-being of our country will be remembered beyond our generation. Our deepest condolences go to Mrs. Hilda Ndlovu, Bigoka Group of Churches, and the entire body of Christ in Zambia over this sad loss. May I request that all of us be upstanding to observe a minute of silence in honor of the memory of our dear departed Archbishop Dr. Ndlovu. May the soul of dear departed Archbishop Peter Ndlovu and the souls of all our dear departed rest in the peace of the Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Members of the press, dear colleagues, we have invited you today to share thoughts on a number of important national issues. And like Chairman for Information and Media indicated, the first is to make a few reflections on the budget that was presented by Dr. Musoko Twane on the 29th of September 2023. It will be recalled that on 28th September 2023, I delivered a pre-budget statement. In my statement, I expressed doubt as to whether the 2024 budget to be presented by Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Musoko Twane, would bring out anything new or will make any economic or social change. We have recognized that the economic policies being pursued by President Hakainde Hichilema, who relies mostly on external forces and solutions to resolve the domestic crisis, are clearly impotent and have made it worse for our people, who are now suffering the worst high cost of living ever in the history of our country. we stated on the 28th of September that the reduced economic output and reduced earnings, especially from the agriculture and mining sectors, will contract the rate of economic growth. As a result, as we anticipated, government has revised the economic growth rate for 2023 from 4.7 to 2.7%. We have noted that the 2022 budget was 172.9 billion kwacha. It dropped to 167.3 billion for 2023. However, with a supplementary appropriation of 11 billion kwacha in 2023, the total budget for 2023 was therefore 178.3 billion kwacha. Compare this to the proposed 2024 budget of 177.8 billion. You can see that President Hakainde Hichilema and his government are proposing that the budget of 2024 is less than the budget of 2023, notwithstanding the inflation rate. And this is only considering the kwacha basis of the budget. Now, considering the decline in the value of the kwacha against international currencies, it is quite clear that the budget has actually been shrinking drastically ever since the UPND took over government. 167 billion in 2021 at the rate of 17 kwacha, and then 178.3 in 2023 at the rate of 20 kwacha, and now even lower, 177.8, but at the rate of 22 kwacha. In dollar terms, your budget has been shrinking. And yet we're hearing boastful noises about increase in allocations to CDF. If there's an increase to CDF and yet there's a reduction in the total budget, which sectors are suffering? What is alarming is that the government is admitting that the decline in the growth of the economy is due to reduced production in the mining sector on account of operational challenges and flooding in some major mines. Now, members of the press and my fellow citizens, did we in the Patriotic Front not warn Hakainde Hichilema and his UPND government that giving tax concessions to these foreign-owned mines with the hope that they will increase production was a far-fetched dream? We warned them that even if they give concessions, tax concessions to these foreign-owned mines, they will not increase production. Now they are telling us that there's actually been a reduction in production. But we told them. Did we not also advise them to keep the mineral royalty tax that we had introduced? We in the Patriotic Front made mineral royalty tax non-deductible because we knew that you cannot appease the mines, you cannot appease foreigners. You do it only at your own peril. What is even worse is that the prices of copper declined from $9,084 to $8,589 per metric ton between 2022 and 2023. This is little wonder that a country that is mining-dependent country such as ours can only have 5.6% of its budget financed by the mining sector. Hear me clearly, my fellow citizens. Zambia is called to be a mining country. And yet in the budget of 2024, the mining sector is only contributing 5.6% of the total budget. That translates to only 3.3% of gross domestic product. And you still call yourselves a mining country. 3.3% of your GDP is as a result of your mining activities. This, as far as we're concerned, is scandalous. And that was the reason why we decided that mineral royalty tax would be non-tax deductible. Before the UPND, when mineral royalty tax was non-deductible, Zambia was raking in an average of $1.1 billion per year. This translates to 22 billion, or 1.2% of 2024 budget. And 7.7% of GDP. That 22 billion that we have lost is, sorry, not 1.2%, but 12% of the 2024 budget. Gone, lost. Because Hakainde Hichilema decided that it's going to make mineral royalty tax non-deductible. Now, President Hakainde, through Musokotwane, complained in his budget, like I said earlier, that the price of copper has reduced from a figure of 9,084 metric tons in 2022 to $8,589 per metric ton in 2023. That's what they are complaining about and saying because of this, our revenue has reduced. However, not too long ago, chairman and owner of Vedanta, Agarwal, confessed to the whole world that even when the price of copper was only $2,200, he was still making a profit. $2,200 Vedanta were making a profit. What is Hakainde complaining about that the price has dropped to 8,559? What is his complaint? This is 4 times higher than the price at which Agarwal says he was making a profit anyway. What this government owes the Zambian people is an explanation on why they are willing to forgo such revenues. 22 billion kwacha given to foreigners, 22 billion kwacha. Why are they willing to forgo such revenues? They also ought to give details on the MOU that Mr. Hakainde entered into with the Americans, along with the DRC president, on the EV minerals. We have asked this question many times, and we're hoping that Musokotwane in his statement would explain to us what revenue shall Zambia generate out of that MOU that was entered into with the Americans. Why are they still shrouding it in secrecy? In addition, Zambians ought to be given the full details of the agreement entered into with the British on the 3rd of August 2023 when the UK Foreign Secretary visited Zambia. We are aware of the fact that only 4 pages out of a document of 44 pages were availed to the public. 4 pages out of 44. Where are the other 40 pages? What is contained in those 40 pages? And that agreement, by the way, is called the MOU on critical minerals. We demand to know what is contained in those other 40 pages. concerning Zambia's critical minerals. By the way, the British Foreign Secretary said he was pledging £31 million, not to the government of Zambia, but to the private sector. And the private sector is not the government of Zambia. That money is not coming to the state. That money is going to the private sector. Can they tell us what they agreed on how they are going to manage our critical minerals? My dear fellow countrymen and women, we in the Patriotic Front are fully aware of the fact that the UPND is working towards unlocking Zambia's economic potential. That's what this budget statement says. The budget speech has a theme, unlocking economic potential. Yes, yes, we in the Patriotic Front are aware that Hakainde Hichilema and his new Doom government are working extremely hard at unlocking Zambia's economic potential for their own companies and their foreign collaborators and their sponsors, but not for the Zambians. They are unlocking Zambia's economic potential so that foreigners can exploit Zambia's economic potential now while they are in power, but not for the benefit of Zambians. This is the reason why there is such shambles even in the agricultural sector. They now have the intentions of giving huge tracts of land to foreign governments who will use Zambia's soils to produce food for export to feed their own nationals. You bring another country, you give them 10,000 hectares of land and you tell them, yes, produce. And after you have produced, export all the produce to your country. God endowed this country with the soils, the climate that it has, not for it to be exploited for the benefit of others. God endowed this country with these resources for the benefit of Zambians. But because the government that we have is so engrossed in making money rather than saving the people of Zambia, they are willing to give away land to foreign governments. The question that begs an answer is, will we force those foreign governments to employ Zambians? They may as well bring their own people to come and work on their farms. And if you give a government, a foreign government land, it is the same as you give land for an embassy. When you give them land as an embassy, they host their flag. It becomes part of their territory. All that is being done because the government that we have is a government not of the people. This also explains why this government has been allowing the export of maize and maize products to feed neighboring countries at the expense of its own citizens. When we say this is a capitalist government which is driven by the forces of capital, forces of money, this is what we mean. They are willing to sacrifice lives of Zambians to starvation as long as they make profits for themselves and their cronies. And that's exactly what is happening now. I'll come to this matter a little later. We have heard time and again BMW, Bali Muntuwabufi, saying Patriotic Front left a damaged economy. We have heard 2 years after they formed government, Musoko Twane presenting budget continues to say we inherited damaged economy, we inherited debt, we inherited this and that. Empty coffers. President Hichilema and his ministers have sung a repeated song alleging that they found empty coffers, a mountain of debt, and a damaged economy. These assertions have been frequently repeated, hoping that they will achieve that the lie becomes the truth. That's how they are doing it. A lie that is repeated very often ends up appearing to be the truth. We shall not allow them to do this. We shall not. On our part, we shall continue to remind Zambians about the real truth. When they tell their lies, we shall also tell the truth. And I want to start now. Let me remind you, my fellow countrymen and women, what did Hijirema find when he was sworn in? On 24th August 2021, when President Hakainde Hichilema took over, the following was what was obtaining in Zambia. Number one, 3.1 billion foreign reserves or gross international reserves, which was equivalent to 3.8 months of import cover. What that means is that if we had no food at all in the country, we would manage to use the 3.1 billion over 3.8 months importing food in the country without having a shortage. And remember that in July 2021, the reserves had been boosted by the International Monetary Fund by 1.3 billion. A general allocation of special drawing rights to Zambia granted on the 2nd of August 2021. This allocation was part of the 650 million approved by the IMF for the Global Liquidity Stabilization Program for eligible member states to attend to global economic and social crises caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Number two, at the time that Hakainde was sworn in, he found 1.5 million metric tons of national strategic maize grain reserves. 1.5 million metric tons. Following record bumper harvests in 2019, 2020, and 2021, the Food Reserve Agency had accumulated a record of 1.5 million metric tons of maize. And the storage facilities across the countries and all our maize sheds were bursting at their seams. The Food Reserve Agency had more stocks than they could handle by the time that Hakainde took over government. There was also to be 3.2 million metric tons of maize to be harvested in the 2021-2022 season. And this was due to the efficient distribution of inputs under the Farmer Input Support Program arranged by the Patriotic Front Party. By the time that he took over government on the 24th of August, we had already distributed fertilizers, we had distributed seed across the country. And the farmers were ready to produce 3.2 million metric tons of maize. Add that to the 1.5 million metric tons of maize, that brought it to 4.7 million metric tons of maize. And yet what happened to that maize? I shall come to that later. Number three, by the 24th of August 2021, when BMW was sworn in as 7th Republican president, what was the exchange rate of the kwacha? 17 kwacha. Although the kwacha depreciation had reached a low of 22.6 on 1st July 2021, by August 2021, the kwacha had firmly recovered and was trading between 16 and 18 kwacha, an average of 17 kwacha. By the time Mr. Hichilema took over, the exchange rate, like I said, had stabilized. Has he managed to maintain it? I'll come back to that later. I'm telling the truth against the lies that they keep telling you, that they found empty coffers, they found a dead economy. The fourth thing that Hakainde Hichilema inherited from us were prices. He inherited prices from the Patriotic Front. And one important price he inherited was the price of fuel. On the 24th of August, after the swearing in at Hero Stadium, I went to a filling station and I still keep the receipt. I paid 15 kwacha for a liter of petrol. On the 24th of August 2021, I paid 15 kwacha for a liter of petrol. At that time, people had been entertained by Mr. BMW, accusing the Patriotic Front of having had middlemen in the fuel supply chain, and that those middlemen were stealing 3 kwacha per liter. He promised the people that he will remove the middlemen so that the price of fuel will be 12 kwacha. Today, under Mr. Calculator and his self-praising party, they have managed to increase the price of fuel to a galloping 30 kwacha when they promised 5 kwacha. What is very frustrating is that while the local price of fuel has increased, the international fuel price has reduced. At paragraph 12 of this budget speech, Minister Musoko Twane acknowledged this fact at paragraph 12 of this speech. For the sake of clarity, let me quote this particular speech. He said, and I quote, paragraph 11, by the way, and I quote, crude oil prices also reduced to an average of $82.8 US per barrel from US $104.6 per barrel between 2022 and 2023. While there was such a huge decrease from $104 to $82, what has happened to the local prices? Have they reduced? From the time he took over government, we warned Hakainde and his government against his monthly review of fuel prices, as this made economic planning very cumbersome, if not impossible. Seated here in this same room, speaking to you, fellow countrymen and women, we did warn him. We told him you cannot continue to have a monthly review of fuel prices. Seated here, early 2022. He did not listen. He was as arrogant as ever and argued that that was the best formula. We are not surprised to hear that he now has come to see what we already saw ourselves. But this also goes to show you that this is the trouble that you go into when you put people on job training.
Correct.
Those of us who know about governance already knew that you cannot continue like this. It has taken him more than a year to come and realize that this is wrong. Meanwhile, the economy has been damaged. Meanwhile, companies have been shut. Meanwhile, the cost of living has increased because of his poor management of the economy. Under 5. I remember MCS, he warned us. Number 3 umfuile. I'm telling you the things that he found, so that you can compare with what they keep telling you, that they found a broken economy. I've told you 4 things already. Number 5, mini-meal price. On the 24th of August, 2021, mini-meal was at the highest of 120 kwacha a bag. Highest. Not average, highest. 120 kwacha a bag. And now, it is no less than 320 kwacha. Even next to a milling company, it is no less than 320 kwacha. In some places, the price of mini meal has gone as 400 kwacha. We have also noted with disbelief that even ZNS are now involved in distributing mini meal from private millers in an attempt to bring down prices. ZNS, we saw ZNS trucks parked at private milling companies, collecting mini meal from private milling companies to try and reduce on the cost of transportation, because they think ZNS is transporting for free. as if those trucks are not using fuel. Meanwhile, government milling plants that we established them. Those government milling plants were established to cushion prices on the local market. Under Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, BMW, capitalist of the worst kind, those milling companies, government milling companies, Zambia National Service, Correctional Service Facilities, milling companies are now being involved in exporting our maize and exporting our milling meal. You even have the bags printed. Zambia Correctional Service Milling Company for export. Those companies were not established to export our milling meal. We established them to cushion the local market, the prices in the local market. We are also dismayed at the warped decision of selling subsidized milling meal through ShopRite shops. ZNS milling meal now is being sold in ShopRite shops, and some people are saying now people can go and buy milling meal from ShopRite. How many of our people live in walking proximity to ShopRite? So you expect people from my village in Kalabo to get on the bus, to get into Mongu, to go and buy milling meal from ShopRite and take that Kawan bag back to Kalabo, and you see I've reduced the price. What kind of warped thinking is this? You have increased the fuel of price, and therefore you have increased the cost of transport. And you say people must travel long distances to go to ShopRite to go and buy cheap milling meal. Number 6, on the 24th of August 2021, when Hakainde swore to defend the Constitution of Zambia and to provide leadership to the 18 million Zambians, the majority of who are employed in the agricultural sector. More than 70% of the Zambian population are employed in the agricultural sector. Hakainde found fertilizer at 600 kwacha a bag. Within 24 months, BMW has increased the cost of fertilizer to more than 1,200 kwacha a bag. And now our people are being forced to queue up to go and receive fertilizer in dishes, in medas, and you expect that there will be a bumper harvest in Zambia. We set up the Rural Electrification Authority with the intention of making sure that more and more Zambians have access to electricity. By 24th of August 2021, connection fees were only 700 kwacha. At the highest, 700 kwacha. Today, under the capitalists, for a poor villager to have the electricity dropped in their homes, for a person in Chilenje to have electricity dropped, for a person in Matero to have electricity dropped, for a person in Kawambwa to have electricity dropped in their home, they have to look for 7,700 kwacha. Number 8, the national power generation capacity, which we inherited as the Patriotic Front, was only 1,600 megawatts. 1,600 megawatts by 2011. By 24th of August 2021, we had ramped up this production to 3,500 megawatts. More than double. And yet Zambia's consumption at that time was only 2,200 megawatts, meaning we had 1,300 megawatts excess power, which at peak production we could export without causing any disturbance in the supply on the local market. One would ask, why are we facing load shedding challenges? In case you don't know, it is because of what Mr. Hagainde said. And you remember him saying that we must sell power to the regional market now. Because if we don't sell to the regional market, we're going to lose those markets. So when we have more power, there will be no market for us to sell. Meaning, stifle the growth of the local economy. Build the economies of the other countries so that you can come and supply power later. Who will supply that power if all the Zambians will be dead by the time? Who will supply it? Of what use is it to supply power to educate people in Botswana, to educate people in Namibia, when your own children are not able to study because they have load shedding, which you have created by exporting power to other countries? Again, warped thinking. Number 9. By the 24th of August 2021, Zambia was referred to, the whole country was referred to as a construction site. Wherever you went, you saw dust going up in the air. Dust not because of cars, dust because there was construction work taking place. Hagainde found extensive infrastructure development done with roads. And not only roads, we did bridges. And by the way, I felt extremely surprised that a man could be so engrossed in himself that he could even refer to Kazungula and say, these are the projects that we have started, which is paying back. Payback period already, short payback period.
Really?
And yet this is a man who criticized us when we were investing in that Kazungula bridge. I was also shocked to see him go to Kasomeno Mwenda and brag, we're doing this bridge, without realizing that that was a road that was left by one Nixon Chilangwa and Edgar Chagwa Lungu. We did airports, and even as the courtesy of calling KK International Airport a sausage. And yet today, when he flies in and out of Zambia like he likes to do, which is his hobby, he lands at a presidential pavilion built by us. His ministers go through an airport that we constructed. When they go to Livingston, they go to Harimwanga Nkumbula Airport, which we constructed. When they go to Ndola, they go to Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe Airport, which we constructed. And yet they say they found a damaged economy. What cheek?
Hallucinations.
They found we have constructed dams. They are proud now about Mwamboshi Dam. I heard one member of parliament complaining about dams in Chirundu, without acknowledging that those dams were initiated by the Patriotic Front government. They are bragging about having employed teachers, as though they could have employed them hadn't the PF constructed schools. Hadn't the PF constructed colleges, would they have had the teachers? Hadn't it been for the universities? By 2011, there were hardly 3 universities in this country. By the time we're leaving office in 2021, there were more than 15 universities. Government and private universities. They are bragging about employing health personnel. Could they have employed them without us having constructed health facilities? We are waiting to see the day when they were going to commission their first toilet. So as they continue to tell lies to the world, we shall continue to remind the world of the truth. Where are we today? What is the state of the country today? Mr. Hakainde and his Minister of Finance are bragging about debt restructuring, and yet the reality is that under the new Doom government, Zambia has increased debt, depleted its foreign reserves, increased food insecurity, and has an unsustainable exchange rate to an extent that the World Bank in 2022, not in 2021, but in 2022, reclassified Zambia as a low-income poor country from where we left it, a low middle income status. Zambia has been downgraded on the level of poverty from a low middle income to now a low income poor country. And people are saying they're economists. They know how to manage the economy. The country has also witnessed the highest cost of living ever, high unemployment and high poverty levels. The recently published Zambia Statistics Agency report on poverty assessment for 2022, which was released after conducting the 8th Living Conditions and Monitoring Survey, shows that the incidence of poverty has worsened from 54.4% to 60%. What this means, fellow countrymen and women, is that 60% of Zambians are living in abject poverty. I'll come to this matter again a little later. The elephant in the room, the IMF. I wish to state that as far as we're concerned, this whole arrangement is just a concept of chasing the wind. The IMF discussion is chasing the wind, running after the wind. We have noted that this government has spent great effort chasing the $1.3 billion IMF bailout package for 2 years. You remember they told us when they were voted in, it took the Patriotic Front years, 7 years negotiating. For us, it has taken us only a few weeks. We have agreed with the IMF $1.3 billion. We told them, we shall see. Time shall tell. And indeed, time is telling. When the IMF reached a staff-level agreement with Zambia for an extended credit facility of 38 months, from 2022 to 2025, there was jubilation in the UPND camp, with President Hakainde himself leading the mockery against us in the Patriotic Front. However, we warned that the agreement was not an end in itself and that many processes were to be undertaken before reaching the end. Further, we expressed concern with the agreement, especially that it called for the removal of subsidies or support to fuel, electricity, agriculture, and public projects in order to allegedly restore fiscal and debt sustainability. We warned them. We said you cannot take away these subsidies. They are important. We also warned that the $1.3 billion bailout was tied to what must be a separate program referred to as a comprehensive debt treatment program under the G20 framework. This meant that the $1.3 billion would not be released until Zambia agreed with its creditors on how the debt would be paid or treated. Not only the coalition of creditors, but also the individual creditors. We warned then And now they were in Marrakesh. And they are telling you exactly what we want them. Now they are saying, yes, we have reached this agreement. Now we're going to start negotiating with individual creditors. But didn't we tell you? Again, under 5. And again, Chimbwe no plan. And again, job on training. You get a learner driver and you tell them drive a PSV truck. Musafika lit. He's still learning how to engage gears. That's what is happening now. That's where we are as a country. Now, Musokutwane proceeded to budget for the money, the 1.3 billion they were expecting from the IMF. They already proceeded and budgeted it and said, Yabwe Randaram. And my friend BMW also boasted how he will ensure that the entire process was completed between 3 and 6 months. They said within 3 and 6 months we'll have completed this. It's more than 24 months. And they were telling us from Marrakesh what we told them. Despite Musokotwane's optimism and the bragging from President Hijilema, the extended credit facility was only approved in August 2022 by the IMF Executive Board after missing the April 2022 deadline. The work of the Official Creditors Committee only began in June 2022. And it wasn't until June 2023 that Zambia reached an agreement on debt treatment with Official Creditor Committee in line with the stringent IMF parameters. And so far, countrymen and women, only the debt regarding China has been rescheduled. And again, because of poor and careless handling of bilateral relations by BMW and his new doom government, especially with China, government missed a golden opportunity to seek total cancellation or debt write-off of the Chinese debt. This is the reason why we advised that we who contracted debt, when we were contracting it, we knew how we were going to repay. And yet Hakainde lied his way through and said, me, I've already got global connections. They've already promised me 25 billion. As soon as you vote for me, the 25 billion will come in Zambia. We told you Zambians that we borrowed and we knew how to pay back. We would not have abandoned China. Would have been in discussion with China. We had already started discussions with China. And we did that because for us, we are non-aligned. And we are not puppets of any other country. We are puppets of Zambians. And whatever we do, we put Zambians first. We don't look over our shoulders to see what is another country saying about us. No. Now they go to China after they have made numerous trips in one direction, where they were receiving promises and entering MOUs which they can't make public. And they expect that China will oblige. That's a missed opportunity. Further, the debt owing to international financial institutions, commercial and private entities, remains unresolved. They have not touched it at all. It remains totally untouched. During this wind-chasing activity with the IMF, government abandoned effective plans to realize or raise domestic resources, abandoned tax revenue from the mining sector that was bringing into government coffers an annual average of 1.1 billion since 2019. And that has gone from $1.1 billion per year down to only $400 million per year. $700 million gone down the drain. Further, economic sectors such as the agricultural sector have been bungled and are recording diminished economic activity. I heard in some speech President Hakainde Hichilema bragging about exporting blackberry. How many farmers in Zambia benefit from the growing of blackberry? And your president is proud. We're exporting blackberry. We're exporting blueberry. Nkasakwa said we're exporting marubeni. Because at least marubeni is everywhere. People can see marubeni. Now, only one farmer producing blueberry in Zambia. One farmer producing blueberry. And because the Zambians can't afford it, you export it and you brag, we're exporting blueberry. Ati manyozo bati. The only policies, programs, and activities making progress in Zambia, the only ones making progress in Zambia are those that benefit foreigners. Foreign companies or companies associated with the UPND leadership and not the Zambian people.
Correct.
Not the Zambian people. What happened to gold in Kasenseli? What are we hearing about Sujilite? What are we hearing about jets landing with millions of dollars and others landing with gold? Who are involved? Now, we have heard this boring song which comes out like a broken vinyl record about CDF. CDF this, CDF that. Real gentlemen, men who even have families. They have children in their homes. And they go to parliament one after another bragging, CDF, CDF. We have increased allocation of CDF. We only found 1.6 million. Now we have increased to 28.3 million. When you read the accounts of the 28.3 million per constituency for 2022 and for 2023, how much has been released? 5.9 million. What are you boasting about? Stop bragging. Stop it. It is immoral to go and brag before cameras and say we have increased CDF, and yet in reality what you're releasing is nothing. And as a matter of fact, you even brag and say this is a way of decentralization. And yet you know that you have taken away the power from the people to decide on how to use their money. Now it is the ministers who are deciding. What decentralization is that? Every member of parliament has been instructed, and I talked about this before. Every member of parliament must go and spend 1 million to build a chief's palace. Even a member of parliament for Lusaka Central must build a chief's palace. A member of parliament for Kabwata must build a chief's palace. What kind of nonsense is this? And you say we're decentralizing. And bragging from start to end of the presidential speech, from start to end of the budget speech, bragging about CDF. I would like you countrymen and women to scorn upon this bragging, because it is nothing but a smoke screen. You have failed to release 28.3 million per constituency. You only release 5.9, and you say we're now increasing to 30.6 million. Atichiputa bati. Another smoke screen, which they've been bragging about, free education, free education. Which free education? Which free education? There is no one in the UPND who introduced free education because they found it. How many children were paying for education in Zambia before UPND came into being? The 200 kwacha PTA fee that pupils were paying is only 200 kwacha to assist the running of the school. And you take away that 200 kwacha and get it back through increase of fuel, increase of mini meal, and you say free education. What free education is it? What is even worse is that it is now a well-known fact that even the administrative fund support to schools is inadequate. And now teachers and pupils are suffering because their classrooms are overcrowded. 120 children in one classroom for one teacher. And the teachers don't even have the teaching aids. I have relatives and friends in Iwengwa. And I want to tell you that my friends and relatives who are teachers in Iwengwa are regretting the introduction of this so-called free education policy because they are no longer able to raise local resources to fund the smooth operations of their schools. They are regretting. Because before they would collect the 200 kwacha and make sure there is paper in the school, there is stationery, there is chalk. They would make sure that there is sufficient money for them to start upgrading their classrooms, their schools. All that now is down the drain. And education anywhere in the world is an investment by both the government and the learner, or the parent of the learner. And that's what we were doing. The only difference between them and us is that we were charging 200 kwacha but provided higher quality education than them who took away the 200 kwacha and are providing poor quality education. Let me get back, my dear colleagues, to the issue of debt, because they have kept talking about this for a long time. Not too long ago, our member of Central Committee and Bangweulu MP, Honorable Anthony Kasandwe, expressed government's high appetite for borrowing to run government. He disclosed that government had borrowed $6 billion in 2 years. That's what he disclosed. That government had borrowed $6 billion in only 2 years. Government, in turn, denied the assertions, but failed. Up to now, they have failed to disprove the information. A closer look at the figures proves Honorable Kasandwe right. And this is how. According to the 2022 annual borrowings plans document approved by the National Assembly, at the end of June 2022, the total stock of central government debt was $25.2 billion, which was $13.25 billion external debt and $11.95 US domestic debt. And that domestic debt in terms of kwacha is 203.28 billion kwacha. Now, as an example, to meet the budget deficit in 2023, government sought parliamentary approval for their annual borrowings plan amounting to $2.22 billion. Government contracted new loans of $1.4 billion external financing from the World Bank and Africa Development Bank, among others, and $15.575 billion, or equivalent to $760 million domestic borrowings from government bonds and treasury bills. Recently published figures by Honorable Stumbeko Musokotwane indicate that public debt was equivalent to $31.6 billion and $32.8 billion, including interest arrears. Sadly, their borrowings, unlike for us in the Patriotic Front, which went into productive sectors, their borrowings are purely for consumption. and leave no tangible projects for the country. For example, in 2022, the World Bank Group, through the International Development Association, released $750 million concessional loan to Zambia, touted as the highest financing support to a developing country in a single year. Yet the country has not seen or benefited from this huge funding support. Where have we seen anything happen with that $750 million? Where? We just hear President bragging, I've sunk Kaboho in Mandevu, I've sunk Kaboho in Matero. $750 million support. Where has it gone? This reminds me to talk a little about the so-called Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. And again, they are bragging. Minister of Infrastructure is bragging. We have reduced the cost. But he's not disclosing that they've also rescoped the project. The thickness of the road we wanted to construct is more than 200% what they're working on. The shelf life of the road we should have done is double the lifespan of the road they want to do. Do you expect the cost to be the same? We wanted to have bypasses. They're not creating any bypasses. Do you expect the cost to be the same? What is worse is they're calling it a PPP. And they hire a foreign company, come and give it money which is locally available at NAPSA, at Workman's Compensation, money belonging to you citizens. They get it and give it as a loan to a foreign company which comes with only a briefcase. No money. They're not even tools, not even equipment. They're just coming with a briefcase or with the CASMO agreement to come and use locally available resources to construct a road in your country. And then you allow them 25 years to manage that road and to collect toll fees for 25 years. And from what they are collecting, they go back and pay you. And you say it's a PPP. I was on the road recently. They have been talking about this road since last year. And I was on this road, I've been hearing in Parliament, they are saying we have started construction. Those of you who have been on the road, you have seen them patching. And by the way, patching with a thinner layer than what was there. Thin layer. And the question that begs an answer is, if now they are patching those potholes with a thin layer, are they going to erase the whole road once again and do a new road? Our position is that if indeed you have realized that the local financial market has enough money to do that road, hire that Chinese company as a contractor. Let them come and construct the road, pay them. Let them go to China with what you have paid them, but let the road be managed by Zambia. Let the money from the toll fees go into treasury. You can't give away a project 25 years to a foreigner, and yet the money they are using is yours. To put simply, it is the same as a person saying, contractor, come and build a house for me. And the contractor says, okay, I'm going to borrow money from your wife. I'll build the house and allow you and your wife to live in this house for 10 years, and you'll be paying me rent so that I pay back to your wife. Let me leave that and move to a matter that is affecting all of us. Milimil, Ulutosh, and the provider of Ulutosh, the agricultural sector. The Patriotic Front government, both under President Michael Chilufya-Sata and President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, recognized that the Farmer Input Support Program was a brilliant development program To this end, the government scaled up the program from 500,000 farmers to 1.1 million farmers who received inputs at the farm gate. The program paid off, with the country recording the highest bumper harvest ever recorded, especially in 2019, when the harvest recorded was 3.7 million metric tons. The country also began to record secure food security. Further, the program supported household food security for communities in rural areas and helped reduce extreme poverty. It is therefore sad to learn how this Hakainde government is being inconsistent on the farmer input support program. One day, they say the farmer input support program is abandoned. The next day, they say it is reformed. And yet the other day, they say it is going to continue in the same format. Now the farmers don't even know. Is it abandoned? Is it reformed? And if it's reformed, in what form? If it's going to continue, why are you being inconsistent? Now we're even hearing that it is going to be replaced by a Kaloba type of farming support called Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program. Today is the middle of October, and the modalities and guidelines of this credit scheme have not yet been worked out. Last week, Honorable MPs, if I recall, the Vice President was asked in Parliament about this program. She was asked, how is this going to work? She had no choice but to ask the Minister of Agriculture to come back at a later date to come and clarify. She did not say come back tomorrow, come back next week. She said at a later date when they are ready. Meaning they are not even ready. This is October, they are not ready. Even the Minister of Agriculture himself doesn't know how this so-called agricultural credit will work. Today, October, they don't know. The recent national crisis with maize shortages, high mini meal prices, is because government has bungled the agricultural sector. Your government of Hakainde Hichilema, my friend BMW, has exported the entire grain reserves that they found. Everything they exported. And Mr. Hakainde's government continues to collect money to export more maize and mini meal, even when we don't have. They know we don't have, but they are collecting money. Bring. You heard recently how Minister of Defense, my friend Ambrose Lufuma, confirmed that government had received $15 million towards a 50 million contract to export mini meal to the Democratic Republic of Congo. They signed an agreement. We shall supply maize worth $50 million. Give us 15 million advance. Give us. Meanwhile, there is no maize. Huh? Who does that? Just who does that? Indeed, only HH. The recent government announcement that ZNS will sell to the national, the nation mini meal at a price of 230 raises more questions than answers. Number one question: where are they buying the maize? If the maize is 280 kwacha a bag, where are they buying it for them to be able to sell mini meal at 230? Who is subsidizing? Because obviously there's a subsidy here. Who is subsidizing? The other question is, the crop purchase program is almost coming to an end, and the Food Reserve Agency has only purchased 343,000 metric tons as at 25th of September 2023. This is despite offers of on-spot cash incentives and higher prices. Remember, they told us we're increasing the price to 280 so that we can encourage farmers to sell the maize. But even at 280 and promising we'll pay you cash, they only bought 343,000 metric tons. Usually, in previous seasons under the PF, the agency would have by now received no less than 800,000 metric tons of maize. By now, FRA would have bought between 800,000 and 1 million metric tons of maize. Pante, they increased the price and they still failed to buy the maize. That's the reason why I said yesterday, thank God we lost elections. So that you Zambians can know the difference between governors and destroyers. The failure for them to buy maize shows that there is no maize on the market. There is nothing. So then the question is, where will ZNS get the maize for them to run their program and to make it sustainable? Where will they get the maize from? There is no maize on the market. Will they go and buy the maize from FRA at 280 kwacha and sell the milling meal at 230? Number two, ZNS sells milling meal at their own depots and outlets at 150 kwacha per 25 kg bag. Why is government now selling the same milling meal at 230 through ShopRite? Why? At their own mills they are selling for 150. They are subsidizing up to 150. And they deliver it to ShopRite and sell it for 230. Why? Do they want all Zambians to go to ZNS milling plants? How can you run an economy like that? Number three, although the initiative to build industrial milling plants under the ZNS, for us, our goal was best in the country engaging in massive production to help keep the price of milling meal down. Like I said earlier, for them, even without sufficient maize, they are using these milling plants to export. And you expect that the prices of milling meal in Zambia will reduce. This is October, and the price is already at 320. I can assure you Zambians that come February 2024, Hagainde was saying, when I come, you have 3 square meals a day. I can assure you that the majority of Zambians will have half a meal a day.
Once a week.
Indeed. Once a week. Because the milling meal will be unaffordable, because the maize will not be there. You remember that already last year and early this year, Hagainde was exporting GMO milling meal. Now I can assure you, he will even be tempted to bring yellow milling meal meant for cattle feed from Brazil. Nipanotuli. My dear countrymen and women, I've spoken so much about these matters of mismanagement of our country by Hagainde Hichilema. Allow me to move to the Patriotic Front. Number one, our Central Committee was scheduled to have its meeting, Central Committee meeting, this Saturday, 21st of October, 2023. However, that meeting has been moved to Sunday, 22nd October, 2023. This is to give an opportunity for our leaders to mourn Bishop Dr. Peter Ndlovu, who will be put to rest on Saturday, 21st October 2023. I therefore call upon all our Lusaka-based members, all our Lusaka-based leaders, all our members of parliament who will be based in Lusaka on the 21st to kindly attend the burial service of Archbishop Peter Ndlovu. Number two, we have instructed our party structures across the country that while they continue with their very impressive use of WhatsApp groups and social media platforms, they should now also embark on active physical campaigns to mobilize membership and the public. We have encouraged the structures to submit notices to the police for the party to hold mass rallies across the country. We are not pleading with the police. It is our right, our constitutional right. Number 3, utilization of other public gatherings. We implore our members to ensure that they attend all public functions such as funerals, weddings, prayer sessions, traditional ceremonies, sports activities, etc., within their communities, so that they utilize them to sensitize the members of the public on how the PF government delivered development during the period 2011 to 2021. This will also accord all of us an opportunity to do what the others don't want to see us doing, to regroup. We know that they get very annoyed when they see us regrouping, but regrouping we shall. Whether they like it or not, regrouping we shall. So let us regroup through funerals. Let us regroup through weddings. All members of the party in your communities, please go and attend funerals. Don't shy away. Number 4, Day of National Prayer. We have requested all our members to participate in the activities of the National Day of Prayer, Fasting and Reconciliation, which falls on Wednesday, 18th October 2023. We want to implore all Zambians to also observe this day. Please don't be discouraged. All Zambians, my fellow countrymen and women, Zambia was first declared by David Livingstone when he knelt down in Chitambo Mission, when he said, "Upon this soil shall emerge a nation of Christians." It was followed up by the declaration by Frederick Chiluba that Zambia is a Christian nation, which was reaffirmed by Edgar Chagwa Lungu, who declared the 18th day of October as a day of reconciliation, a day of prayer. Don't be discouraged by the one person who said this 18th day of prayer is a useless day. For us Zambians, it is not a useless day. Prayer for us can never be useless. So I appeal to all of us Zambians, please don't be discouraged by those words. Let those who think that 18th of October is a useless day, let them go and do things that are unbiblical and Christian on that day. For all of us Zambians, if we can't join the body of Christ across the country where they have activities, even in your own home on that day, kneel down and pray to God. Reconcile first of all with yourself. Reconcile with your family. Reconcile with your neighbors. Reconcile with one another. And reconcile with God. On that day, members of Patriotic Front and all peace-loving citizens of Zambia, let us go on our knees and pray to God. 24th of October, 1964. Some people had not yet been born. Others, like Kuriana Ishiva, was only 2 years old, and therefore had nothing to do with Independence Day, and therefore has no choice in the matter. All of us in the Patriotic Front and all countrymen and women, I implore you to observe Independence Day celebrations. All of us, let us go and participate. Whether those events are organized by the state or not, let us go and celebrate, because that's our Independence Day. And we owe it to our forefathers. Blood was spilled for Zambia to be declared an independent state. So please let us observe that day. However, I want to inform you that our participation in official activities and state functions shall be a subject of review at our next Central Committee meeting. But before that, I would just like to encourage all of us to observe that day. 28th of October, as you are all aware, this year marks the 9th anniversary since the passing of Zambia's 5th Republican president and founding father of the Patriotic Front, President Michael Chilufya-Sata. I would like to encourage all our members to observe that day. We have asked our provincial leaders in all the provinces in the country to notify the police that on that day they are going to hold commemoration of the anniversary, the 9th anniversary of the passing of President Michael Chilufya-Sata in the provincial headquarters. For Lusaka province, they are also instructed to put notice to the police that we commemorate this day. And I implore all members of the party who shall be in Lusaka to come and join us, first of all, at the memorial site, and then at a place that we shall be informed through the provincial committee. Finally, as a party, we have declared October 28th, the day that we honor the memory of our founding president and the 5th Republican president of Zambia, a man who contributed immensely to multi-party democracy in this country, a man who founded the most formidable political party in Zambia, the Patriotic Front. In honor of his memory, 28th of October is hereby declared a Green Day. We therefore encourage all members of our party and members of the public on that day to wear green. On the 28th of October, let us all wear green, or a piece of green on whatever we shall be wearing. This will be in memory and honor of President Michael Chilufya-Sata's contribution to this country. Those of us who will be attending the memorial of President Sata, without exception, we must have something green wherever we shall be. Members of the press and our followers across the country, I thank you most sincerely for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was a comprehensive statement delivered by our acting president. We'd like to welcome the leaders that have joined us. Honorable Sanga here, our MP from Northern Province, is also a member of Central Committee and is chair of our legal affairs, and Honorable Nakachinda, our SG, has just gone up. May we take some questions? This was a long speech. You must have something to say. Can I have the questions quickly? Can I have the questions?
Is one there?
Okay, I can see.
What was
Abraham,
that
please
numbering?
ask your question.
What was that numbering? Good afternoon.
Allow me to divert a bit away from the statement. I think 2 days ago, members of parliament from Luapula requested President Itirema to discipline his Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Education, for the foul statement against the people that side. To this date, we have not heard anything coming from that position. What is your position? How do you advise the President in terms of regional integration, kind of using sober languages which borders on ethnic division?
Very good question on Luapula, Mr. President.
Any other?
Do we have any other question? President, we can start with that.
All right. Let me first declare interest. I am a prince by marriage because my dear wife is a princess in the Mushota chiefdom, the Mushota chiefdom of Luapula. I will not respond yet, but let me ask one who is directly affected. Me, I'm affected through my children, but there's one who's affected by blood. The gentleman here, but Luapula. But Deputy SG.
Yes, sir.
Deputy SG, I'll ask you to wear the microphone that the President has, just briefly. You should be answering. We are live. We want people to hear you. Members of the press, you are aware that the Minister of Education, Honorable Douglas Siakalima, when appearing before the Parliamentary Orders Committee that was probing the issue of free education, he made some remarks, unfortunate remarks, where he referred to the people of Luapula that they have a poverty mind when he was talking about enrollment. We'll start with Honorable Nixon Chilangwa on that particular matter, then we'll come to the President. Honorable Nixon Chilangwa.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you for that question. And thank you, Acting President, for your delivered speech at this press conference. We are grateful. I don't know how much time I have to deal with this, because I would like to dissect it.
We can give you 5 minutes.
You can give me 5 minutes. I normally speak for longer than that. Colleagues, it is unfortunate that the Honorable Minister of Education elected to demean the people of Luapula province in particular fashion. It is very, very unfortunate. Why do I say this, colleagues? Colleagues, I presided over the affairs of Luapula province for 5 years, as you may know, from 2016 to 2021. And we laid a very firm foundation for economic growth, for taking Luapula out of poverty through the world-famous Luapula Expo. And it's unfortunate, Acting President, that when our colleagues stand to speak, I mean our colleagues in government, I mean the UPND, when they stand to speak, they always elect to politic, even where it is not necessary to politic. They always elect to be negative, even where they don't need to be negative. And I like to believe time has come when those of us in the patriotic front should stand up and defend our record and defend our character, because you can no longer continue. They are 2 years down the road since they got into government, beyond 2 years. But all they do, can you just pull up that pop-up for me? People need to be reminded what PF did and what PF achieved. You can no longer continue on that trajectory. This country needs healing. This country needs to move forward to the next level, but it cannot move to the next level when the colleagues in the driving seat are always being negative. They need to come to terms with the reality that they cannot run this country in the negative fashion that they continue doing from the first door, and they want to continue this into the next election. Not at all. We organized the Luapula Expo, and I can tell you right now that it was the most successful expo that has ever been organized in this country. It was not only the most successful, but it also attracted unbelievable investment pledges that a province has ever received. Colleagues, last week or the other week, I heard that President Hakainde was in DRC with the president of DRC, where they were doing groundbreaking for the Kasomeno Mwenda Road project. Colleagues, who was behind that project? Most of you came to know about that project because of me and my team's involvement, of how we pushed so hard to bring our colleagues, the Congolese, to the table, for them to believe in that project so that we can actualize that project. Even the project promoters were relieved because of the energy and the time and the effort that we put in that project. Colleagues, that was not enough. We went further to revive Kawambwa Tea Company. This you know very well. We went further to revive the Mununshi Tea Scheme. This you know very well. We went further to attract Kawambwa Sugar to come into Luapula province. This you know very well. We went a step further to attract Mansa Sugar. And Mansa Sugar is now on the shelves. This you know very well. What were we trying to do when we did all these things? We did all these things so that we can raise the profile of Luapula province to start with, to market the province effectively, to bring in money into Luapula province so that as investment is coming into Luapula province, we were in a position or in a place where we can have investment coming and being actualized. So by being actualized, our people are going to get employment, and those who are not getting employment are able to start getting more and better markets for their products. I went to DRC several times, and we agreed on the way that we are going to start bulking shops and plants in Luapula province, where our people would take their goods and services, their people would take their agricultural produce to take to DRC and bring money. Colleagues, this we did as Luapula province. I do not believe anybody with a poverty mind would be able to do such things. I don't think so. The only person I can think who has got a poverty mind is he or she who fails to acknowledge the efforts of the other people. It's the only person who has a poverty mind. A person who always talks in the negative about others is the only person I can think to have a poverty mind, because only poverty mind makes people think of others in a negative way. It's only a person with a poverty mind who, I, Nixon Chilangwa, when I stopped being minister and I was told a new minister had come in, we made a document, a handover document, which we said, colleagues, as you come in, Luapula is a priority. This document, you must run along with it. We have an export desk that is charged with the responsibility of actualizing what we've achieved and what we have done. And we gave them that document as a foundation for which Luapula must go to the next level so that the people of Luapula province can see tangible developments and investment. Why did we do that? Can a person with a poverty mind do that? Do people with poverty minds really hand over? Do people with poverty mind tell their friends, this is what we did and you can take up from here? I don't think so. So colleagues, for us, we take great exception. But it's all right. It's okay. It's okay, because the Zambians are able to see as to who has got a poverty mind. Colleagues, we left a lot of programs and projects. Where is the convention center in Zambia today? If they don't have a poverty mind, why have they cancelled that program? Why have they put it on ice? That was supposed to employ at least 2,000 people during construction, and we are going to have at least 200 to 300 people working at that facility after its completion, so that more people can be taken out of poverty. But where are they today? Where is that program today? Unfortunately, nothing is happening. And that is just one of the many projects and programs that we left. What has happened to the Kalunguishi hydropower project, which we left at advanced level? What is going on? We want Luapula. What is happening to the Pensulo to Mansa power line, so that Luapula can have industrial energy, so that the manganese produced from Mansa can be processed in Mansa, so that more people from Luapula can derive real benefits from Luapula province. So for me, colleagues, I take great exception to the people of...
Thank you, DSG. Thank you.
Have I finished? Colleagues, look at that thing there. This is Luapula Expo, and this is what it is. And I want people to reflect upon this and to think about it. If you want, you can call any of these companies to ask them to say, is what Nixon Chilangwa saying the truth? And they'll tell you their participation. And they will tell you that some of them have been frustrated by the UPND government. They will tell you that they have been frustrated not by PF, by the colleagues who have got poverty minds. So I like to believe I should end there for today. It's not my meeting, it's not my press. It's for, you can ask me follow-up questions when I have my own meeting soon. Yeah. But here we are. So that's what I call, people must be reminded of that Luapula Expo, what we achieved and what we left on the ground for them to take over and run along with it. And since they like get credit for things they've not achieved, they would have been getting credit from all these programs and projects.
Yeah. Thank you, DSG, as you swap the microphone. So their investment worth $6 billion, and most of them began to actualize. You know, the tea company came back. There are 2 sugar companies, that the Mansa and Mansa Sugar, Kawamba Sugar, and there are 2 other. We left 3 other companies also doing given land so they can actualize their investment. Yeah. But I must also mention something. Yes. Some people keep on talking to say Zambia recorded a negative growth 2019-2020. And I wanted to say, do they live in Mars? They don't know what was happening in 2019 and 2020? Economies across the globe, they all went into negative or to nearly 0 or 1% because of COVID. And people do not want to refer to COVID. We know what COVID did. Most economies closed down. They're completely closed. Zambia, President Lungu refused to close the Zambian economy because he knew people are going to suffer. And the same people are saying Zambia recorded a negative growth in this year. They are the ones who are saying Zambia must shut down. And today they can stand and say, why did we? Come on, colleagues. Let's be honest with ourselves. Acting President, as you wear the microphone, there is a petition by members of Parliament against Honorable Douglas Siakalima's statement. There is a statement by the Bishop of Mansa, Right Reverend Chilekwa Chisanga, who has also bemoaned this negative statement against the people of Luapula. I think you can take it up from there.
My dear fellow citizens, it is one thing to cast aspersions against an individual, irrespective of their station in life. But it's totally another to cast aspersions against a people. And what Douglas Siakalima did was to cast aspersions against a people. Those living today and their ancestors. That's what he did. When he said that the people of Luapula province have poverty of the mind, he was not necessarily talking about Honorable Nixon Chilangwa as an individual. He was not talking about the 14 members of parliament from Luapula whom he interacts with on a daily basis. He was insulting even those people who hail from Luapula who are not here to answer for themselves. The ones that are long deceased. He also cast aspersions on every person who hails from Luapula, irrespective of where they are. Now, what can be worse tribalism than that? What can be worse hate speech than that? I want to remind all of us Zambians that conflict occurs especially because of careless statements. Conflict occurs because of the words we say to one another. And this is the reason why the Cyberspace and Cybercrime Act provides for the offense of hate speech. To tell a people, not a person, to tell a people that they have poverty of the mind is to make the children of those people to think they cannot achieve anything.
It's an insult.
And the news is in Bemba was even a far heavier.
I want first of all to appeal to my friend and young brother Douglas Siakalima. Douglas Monsaga Siakalima. I would like him to reflect upon those words he issued against the people of Luapula. And I'd like him to walk himself to the nearest police station, knowing very well that Hakainde Hichilema's police will not follow him. I advise him for his own good, and his good not now, but his good in the future. Let him walk to the nearest police station and hand himself over for committing the offense of hate speech. And secondly, after he has done that, let him retract and apologize to all the people of Luapula unreservedly. I'm not going to ask Hakainde to even get involved. I leave that to his own judgment. But speaking to Douglas Siakalima, I wish to encourage him that for the sake of him maintaining peace with the people that he insulted, let him hand himself over to the police. For all of us Zambians, I'd like to appeal to all of us. Let's handle our politics with sobriety. And by the way, it is said that a man's virtue is known when they're in possession of power. We know of some people in this country who just issued statements about individuals and they are before the police. I know of a person who said, this person you have brought is the most primitive amongst those people. And that person is in the police. He was talking about an individual, but he's in court. He was charged for hate speech, for talking about one individual as being primitive. What about in this case where a whole population all of them. And like I said, I declared interest, but I feel personally injured that even my children are considered by Douglas Siakalima as being poor of the mind. Is Douglas Siakalima sure that his products are more intelligent than the products of the people from Luapula? What an insult. That's a very sad statement, and I agree with my Lord, the Bishop of Kasama, of Mansa, Bishop Chisanga. This is an insult, a big insult. And we shall stand with the people of Luapula, because we know that in any society, there are those who are gifted and others who are not. And this applies in any society. And to blanket the whole people and declare them that they are all dull, they are all, all of them lack intelligence. That's terribly abominable. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, you have Honorable George Kangwachisanga, our Lukasha MP. For your knowledge, is our chair for legal affairs. I'll just invite him just to briefly, Honorable, you can put up the microphone, just to briefly speak to this matter.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving me just a minute to also echo what everybody has said concerning the utterances made by the Honorable Minister of Education in his reference to people of Luapula province. Mr. President, if you allow me, I'll preface my contribution on a statement that I've made in the recent past, that this country is divided. This country is divided since the coming into power of the UPND. It is an undeniable fact that we have become too regional as a country. And unfortunately, when you live in an environment of such divisions, those who wield power must take it as a responsibility to unite the nation. And when you have the privilege of being in possession of power, you must conduct yourself in such a way that you unify rather than divide people. The statement that has been condemned by everybody on this seat was a foul statement. It was actually a crime that was committed by the minister. And why our colleagues, Mr. President, from Luapula province took issue with this matter is because this is not an ordinary person. He presides over a ministry of education, a ministry that is created for advancement of knowledge in the country. It is on his plate to ensure that the country is united, but also that the benefits of him being a minister of education permeates every other area of the country, including Luapula province. Honorable Chilangwa, I must apologize. I think we made a mistake. We should have joined you in the petition as all members of parliament. Yeah. We should not have left this exclusively to MPs from Luapula province. I think with the instruction of the acting president going forward, we should maybe author a fresh petition where even other members of parliament, and I must extend this invitation even to members of parliament for the UPND who understand the gravity of the divisive nature of that statement that was made by the minister, and ensure that we begin to foster the agenda of uniting the nation rather than dividing it even further. Mr. President, the crime that was committed by the Honorable Minister of Education is actually prescribed in the Cybercrime Act number 2 of 2021. It defines what it says as a means by verbal or non-verbal communication, action, material, whether by video, audio, streaming, or written, that involves hostility or segregation directed towards an individual or a particular social group on grounds of race, ethnicity, antisemitism, tribalism, sex, age, disability, color, marital status, pregnancy, health status, and economic status, cultural, religion, belief, and conscious and origin. So any person who makes a statement that is almost borders on the insult against a particular grouping of people commits a crime under which is called hate crime under section 65 of the Cybercrime Act. And that offense is punishable by a penalty financially of 500,000 monetary units or a prison sentence. So like the president has intimated, it will be important for this individual to whom this statement was attributed. In fact, it's been carried through all social media platforms. So he cannot deny that he didn't make that statement. It's a fact he made that statement, and he made it with an intention of demeaning a region that belongs to the Republic of Zambia. He should present himself before the investigative wings. He should surrender himself and go and confess as a way of trying to make peace between himself and the rest of the nation, not only Luapula province, but the rest of the nation. Because as a Minister of Education for the whole nation, we know that our colleagues, like as Honorable Chilangwa has stated, tend to politic, when they make statements in response to some of the most important questions that are put to them. Anybody who has followed the Minister of Education, even on the floor of the House, the stubbornness with which he debates, the stubbornness with which he even responds to even questions that the public would like to hear, the House deliberating on, leaves much to be desired. But I think it's the style they have taken of trying to demean the rest of the nation, thinking that maybe they are more preferred themselves because they now possess power. Like the president has said, the character of the man is revealed when he's in possession of power. We need to begin to see that our colleagues are going to become manageable. They are going to temper their ambition with reason and ensuring that they're going to bring everybody on board. If they do not do that, like I've been hearing the heckling in the audience, you lose power from the people, because the people are the ones who deposited power in you. These people are not just going to sit and watch you abuse yourselves when you're sitting in the positions of power. Come 2026, people are going to be looking for an alternative government, and our efforts ourselves of being here, of being interactive with the public, is to ensure that we let people know that that patriotic front, that political party that loves the poor, that patriotic front that used to work as a partner of the poor in the society, is still here. It is reorganizing, it is repositioning itself, and working with other political stakeholders. We are getting ready to retake power in 2026. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. May I have the last questions? I think we've been here long, and is there any question?
So pray.
The press conference.
It was crystal clear.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, I'll ask you to stand, and with your members of the Central Committee, who will give us a prayer? Shukuru. Pepeni shukuru. Closing prayer. Say mwini napa shukuru.
Ngwaina tulombe. Twamwita ni mweshukuru wa luseleso abakokabiruka bakomwe ayape twaita fish na lienu na makaya mshukuru. Pali chichiro ngano cha PF ilio bakateka kompani yabakateka bale pela ifire chika muchalo tata twamutotera pali mwa watu ngulwa tebe ni bali balela ndatata mwali muleba bonke chikolo twafweni pange ni chichiro ngano cha PF kuti chibe stronger than ever before nokumona kuti chibe stronger tata imwe ni mwakatungulwa wabantu kabiri ni mwakalanga wanchire isuma langena abana beno intungulu chisuma chikolo nokuteka tuleya ni mumukatutungulule nabakalemba weri ya chisikulu basungeni bonsa abana beno aba nokutefyo baletola mukyalo ifyo baleberenga efituntu tata not if yabufi tata twamutotera nimwele so aluse kabiri umukankala ukabakope twalomba fyonse ifi ni mwana wenu Yesu Kristo mwatwashira fyonse. Amen.
Amen. The media has been trained for no lies. Mr. President. Honorable Media Director.